Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Spreadex Six, brought to you by WhoScored. I am your host, George Elek, and as I am at this time of the week. Every week, I'm joined by Jack Wright as we look ahead to this weekend's Premier League fixtures, going through the spread bets ahead of the games. Jack has got a selection for each of the following 6 markets: total goals, corners, bookings, player goal minutes, multi-markets, and match performance. And yeah, this is where we go through them, hopefully finding ways for you to win using Spreadex's spread betting markets. As is always the case, if you haven't got a Spreadex account, do click on the link below this video and you can sign up for a new account there and get a completely free £10 free goals spread bet. So do click on that and do hopefully follow Jack into what will be a winner. The first game we're going to be looking at is Manchester City against Fulham. This is a high line. You are buying at 4.
I am.
Wow.
Yes, I know. Look, since we last recorded, the clocks have gone back.
Yes,
British summertime is officially over.
Yeah.
It's starting to get dark early.
It is.
The doom and gloom's there. Sad syndrome is kicking in. And I could not go and sell goals again like I did last week, although it was successful, of course. So we're going to cheer on plenty of goals, and this game does look like the one. You're right in saying the high line is 4, but the stats will back up that we should still be in with a good chance here in saying, well, it's a cracking game. And Fulham travel to the Etihad, and I expect them to do much to like what they've done all season so far. I think they've surprised a few people. They've performed really, really well. They've gone toe-to-toe with virtually every side they've come up against so far. 44 goals across their games so far this season has seen an average of 3.38. And the great thing is that as a newly promoted side, they're sharing the load. 22 goals scored, 22 goals conceded. So couldn't be fairer than that. Their last 3 away games have seen 5 goals, 4 goals and 5 goals. And these are equally shared as well, 7 for, 7 against. And of course, Alexander Mitrovic has proved a few people wrong in the fact that he can perform at this level. He's scored 9 goals so far this season from his 12 games. Only Harry Kane and Erling Haaland have scored more goals than him. And of course, Erling Haaland could be on the other side of the halfway line this time round, as long as he's fit. Let's hope he is, because it'll be a nice little head-to-head to watch that one go off. Pep has said he won't be risking him this midweek in the Champions League, as there's no point. So let's hope that he can get in some Premier League action. As far as those Premier League games at the Etihad are concerned for Manchester City, 33 goals so far we've seen there, in a crazy average of 5.5 per game. They've scored 27 of those themselves. And no game has seen fewer than 4, which of course is the line that we've said here. 3 times they've seen 4 goals in those games, 6 on 2 occasions and 9 of course on once. So they've covered this line actually themselves in 5 of 6 home games. So goals galore, let's cheer them on, and buying at 4.
Buying at 4, Manchester City versus Fulham, the first selection in this week's Spreadex 6. Next up, as ever, it is corners, and you're expecting there to be plenty in possibly the game of the weekend. Spurs against Liverpool.
It's certainly up there, isn't it? Certainly up there. And say 2 of the best corner teams coming together here in a very similar fixture to one that we played a couple of weeks ago when Tottenham hosted Newcastle. We bought then and saw 13 flag kicks on that occasion. So there's nothing to suggest we won't see.
Flag kick. You don't hear that too often, do you?
Well, I know. I'm old school, aren't I? That's
straight
what it
through
is.
the thesaurus.
Yeah. I've got to try and keep up with your wordsmithery. So anyway.
Is that a word?
It is now. So I mentioned at the time that was a perfect fit with Spurs. Spurs obviously like to sit back, invite pressure on, and Newcastle in that game were happy to take that invite up and did so. And for Newcastle, we'll see Liverpool here looking to go front foot, looking to attack Spurs. Spurs will look to then hit on the counter attack, and that's how both these sides kind of get their corners so high. And obviously both in European action on Tuesday night. Probably Spurs with the tougher game going to the last second there, which will help even more. They'll probably be more prepared to sit back even more so. So as far as the corners are concerned, only Newcastle and Liverpool have taken more than Spurs' 47 corners at home. Their average is 7.83, so very high. And only West Ham average more than Liverpool's 7 per game away from home. And overall, Liverpool have taken more corners than anyone else, 96 in total. Spurs joint third with 83. So all that would dictate that this is a perfect line to buy.
Lovely stuff, buying corners in Spurs against Liverpool, buying booking points as well, but not total match booking points, team booking points in West Ham against Palace. This is where there are 10 points for every yellow card shown, 25 points for every red card shown, but specifically shown to Crystal Palace players here.
Indeed so, yeah, mixing up just a little bit after a couple of unusual losses in this market over the last couple of weeks. So, when in doubt, when you're in trouble, in times of need, you reach for your comfort blanket, don't you? And of course, I've done that in the beautiful shape of Paul Tierney. my Paul Tierney comfort blanket I've reached for here. Still ranked the #1 referee as far as booking point average is concerned in the Premier League, although on my referee radar, it pinged off with Bobby Madley coming back last week. His first game in 4 years in the top flight.
Yeah.
And back with a bang.
Yes.
Yes, 6 yellow cards, 1 red card, so 85 booking points from him. So we'll be watching out for him. No game for him this week in the Premier League. So
Stick it in the notebook.
He's in the trusty pad.
Yeah, you've run out of pages.
No, there's loads left. Don't worry, I've got a reading full at home, so that's fine. But anyway, back to Paul Tierney. Averaging 47 booking points still per game, so say up there, only 10 games into the season. And Palace have collected the 5th highest amount of yellow cards, so 28 in total so far this season. And they don't mind if they're playing home or away. It's an even split, 14 at Selhurst Park and 14 picked up on the road. 15 yellow cards in their last 5 games, including 4 or 40 booking points as far as this is concerned in their last away game at Everton. As far as West Ham at home, the visitors have picked up 12 yellow cards in their last 4 games at the London Stadium, 2 of which were London derbies, which of course this one is as well. 5 yellow cards for Spurs when they visited, and 3 for Fulham when they visited. Paul Tierney's taken charge of 2 Palace games so far this season. An away game in August at Liverpool, where we showed them 4 yellow cards, 40 booking points. And only last month when they hosted Leeds and picked up 3 yellow cards, so 30 booking points. So I'm buying Crystal Palace booking points.
Buying Palace booking points there. The third selection in this week's Spreadex 6. On to player goal minutes now. Not having the best of luck in this market, it's fair to say. It's only fair if we talk about how good you've been in the bookings market. We have to say this is where maybe things haven't gone to plan. But if you continue to pick players with quite a low line, when it does hit, hopefully that'll make up for it. And this time around, exactly, you are looking at Mark Rocker, who you're looking to buy his player goal minutes. A player who's got 1 goal so far this season from 12 games. Leeds, of course, hosting Bournemouth in the early kickoff on Saturday. I think it is, or is it Friday? Yeah, Saturday, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock,
yeah, indeed.
What is it about Rocker that's rocking your world at this
Well, yes, I'll have to think of a good answer for that. But you actually picked out a goal scorer last week. You had Gabriel Martinelli.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he scored very early. So
that's true. It would have been a loser as well.
Yeah, it would have been a bit disappointing. But we got 5 goals in that game, and unfortunately, the Gabriel that we put forward, or I say we, you've been grouped into this now.
Yeah,
I put
wasn't
forward.
my pick.
No, didn't have a sniff. So anyway, we move on. But it's still, as you rightly say, a low risk, high reward strategy, and we have been knocking on the door recently. So let's see if we can open it here. We have a player, as I say, Mark Rocker, 12 games so far this season, 12 attempts at goal. Admittedly, half of those came in 1 game, and that was at Brentford.
1 game.
One
wow.
game, 6 shots. And the good thing to note about that is, yes, he scored in that game.
One of them went in.
One of them went in, yeah, a recycled corner, so officially from a set piece. And also had 3 attempts from outside the area. So I've gone away from my first name term centre backs.
Mark.
And we're going to, Mr. Rocker.
Yeah.
We're going to the defensive midfielders now. So a little line further up. So it does bring more into play those shots from outside the area. So as I said, all but 1 of his shots so far this season have come in his last 7 games. He had 2 in the last home game that Leeds had. And he also had a shot, and it was on target against Liverpool at the weekend in that surprise win. So he's there, he's getting there and thereabouts. And also the main reason we're looking at this bet is because Bournemouth have had a little bit of a wobble under Gary O'Neill. They started off 6 games undefeated under him, now lost 3 on the spin, and they are starting to concede some goals. 3 last time out, haven't been 2-0 up. 2 of those came from set pieces. They've conceded 3 goals from corners in the last 2 games, so it does bring Rocker into play as far as it is one of the focal points for Leeds in their set-piece play. And they have now conceded 9 goals from set pieces this season, which is a Premier League high. So we're looking to exploit that. We're going to take Mark Rocker and hope he does rock our world. You read the script. And buying his play goal minutes.
Yeah, X marks the spot. There we go. Multi-markets next up. We are looking at a sell. My goodness. This is the first ever multi-market sell, isn't it?
I know.
Ooh,
Slipped
exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's West Ham Palace again, so unsurprisingly, you've taken bookings out of it. It is goals by corners, so total goals multiplied by the number of corners, and you are selling.
Yes, I am selling, yeah. This was on the short list for the match performance, but I knew that the cards part of this could be an issue. And then when Paul Tierney was put in charge, there was no chance I was going to be taking that on. But the stats do look very good for this as far as selling the other two elements, corners and goals. So both these sides have struggled a little bit in front of goal. West Ham obviously brought Skamaka in, who's still trying to find his feet in the Premier League, understandably so, which has meant Antonio spending a bit more time on the bench. Jared Bowen's not quite followed up last season as yet. He's struggling a little bit. There's been a few injuries in those forward areas as well. And Crystal Palace is still seemingly fairly reliant on Wilfried Zaha scoring goals for them. So the Hammers have failed to score in 2 of the last 3. Their home games, only one has seen more than 2 goals of their 6 games in total at the London Stadium. And as far as Palace are concerned, they've failed to score in their last 3 away games, 2 of which have ended 0-0, interestingly so. Yeah. Only 3 away goals from them so far this season. 1 come from a set piece, and there was an own goal, and the other one was on a counter attack. So it's thin scrapings for their away fans this season so far. Only Villa, Wolves, and Nottingham Forest have scored fewer goals from open play than both these 2 sides. So not a lot of excitement going forward there at this moment in time. And as far as the corners are concerned, only 19 corners from West Ham in their 6 home games. That average is just 3.17, which is the lowest in the Premier League. And Palace, 14 corners away from home is the lowest total. So their average away is only 2.8. As far as West Ham at home, the total of 39 corners seen is the lowest average, just 6.5 average corners per game at the London Stadium. Pathetic.
Horrible.
Indeed so. Glad you said that. And Palace, talking of pathetic, lowest total overall, just 106 corners from the 12 games this season at a pathetic 8.83 average. We can only do but one thing, sell the multi-market corners by goals.
There you go. And finally, in this week's Spreadex Six, it is, of course, match performance, going after the holy grail of a 0-0 draw, which is minus 25 points here. But, of course, there are 15 points per goal scored, 3 points per corner taken, 5 points for a yellow, 15 points for a red, and 10 points for a penalty awarded. And you are taking on Everton, who I'm calling at the moment Everton 0-0, is their name, hosting Leicester. Unsurprisingly, Everton a bit of a favourite for you in the match performance market.
They are a bit, yeah, and obviously for good reason, given the name that you've coined them. I think that's very apt as well. The last 2 meetings between these 2 sides at Goodison ended in 1-1 draws, so low scoring. Everton failed to score in 3 of their last 4. Still got Anthony Gordon as their top goal scorer, with just 3 goals so far this season. They have got Dominic Calvert-Lewin back. He's just managed 1 goal so far. They are struggling in those forward areas, and they're up against the Leicester side here, who have certainly put focus on tightening up at the back, having been leaky Leicester at the start of the season. They're not so much now. Conceded just 1 goal in their last 4 games, and that goal was against Manchester City, so no disgrace there. And problems just generally have been in forward areas as well. Again, for them, Jamie Vardy's only scored 1 goal so far this season. He's struggling a little bit, and they're rotating through Iheanacho and through Patson Daka, so relying on more their kind of attacking midfielders for the creativity and the goals. But defence, as I said, has been a focus, as it has been for Everton, with Connor Cody and James Tarkowski certainly tightening them up defensively from last season as well. So I've mentioned before, games at Goodison Park do tend to feature corners, but usually from the visitors. Everton's average of just 5 corners per home game shows that they're not overly prolific. And when we look at Leicester, they average just 3.17 corners per away game, and only Forest have 1 fewer corners overall than the Foxes. The referee, David Coote.
Cootie.
Yeah, Cootie is the referee, a go-to referee for leniency. Has the lowest cards per game average in the Premier League this season. Check out on WhoScored.com and you'll see him right at the bottom there with an average of just 2.67.
Wow.
Some would say that's pathetic.
Yeah, I agree.
6 Premier League games so far this season, just 16 yellow cards, no red card, of course. And he also took Everton versus Manchester United at Goodison Park last month and just showed a pathetic 3 yellow cards. So we're going to be selling the match performance. Of course, that's what we do.
Match pathetic, yeah, match performance. There we go. Selling Everton versus Leicester there is the final pick in the Spreadex Six. There you have all of Jack's picks ahead of this weekend's Premier League fixtures. Thank you very much to you, Jack.
Thank you, George.
As ever, for sharing his thoughts. We will be back next week with another show before the World Cup starts. But do, in the meantime, check out the Who Scored YouTube channel and subscribe there. We can find all the Spreadex Six content and loads of World Cup stuff coming up there very soon indeed as well. And do check out the Spreadex website where you can find all of these markets, plenty of other markets as well, and of course World Cup stuff coming up there too. So do get stuck into all of that, and if you haven't got an account yet, use the link below this video to sign up for one and you'll get a free £10 goals spread bet. Do remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. Enjoy the football this weekend, hopefully a couple of winners in there, and as is always the case, please do ensure that you're gambling responsibly.